Can I swear?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
go
get
for it.
taken down if I swear.
We have no sponsors right now. Once we get our
Not
first
yet.
sponsor, we'll stop, okay? But right now
Oh
we can
yeah.
swear.
We'll be like having the drinks and the hats and all the merch for the sponsor things.
Yeah.
Um, this is bullshit, in my opinion. This question. Can we set up a weekly call is bullshit because it's all about trust. They know what they're doing. I think it's more of a yeah, honestly, I think it's more of a micromanaging aspect and that they don't trust you. This is a huge red flag for me. If somebody says, "Can we set up a weekly call?" I'm not going to go further. I'm going to be saying, yeah, probably just ignore them and shut everything down. Honestly, because it's just why are you laughing so much?
Well, you
Do
wouldn't
you
even
not
like
agree?
what well, I do agree. I do agree it is bullshit, but like so that would be your initial reaction. You would just end it, is what you're saying.
Pretty much. Because like welcome everybody to the final episode in the series Google Ads for Beginners with me, Ryan Fenton, and my co-host Gene Villanos. Yeah, we've had a great series talking about Google Ads for beginners, which match types you should use, which bidding strategies you should use, campaign types, so many things. And Gene and I thought the best way to end it would be with like a most common questions answered video. And I think this is probably going to be one of our biggest episodes that we're going to record because we've got about 8, 9, 10 questions that we're going to run through that just covers all the houses pretty much. So I think this could be one of the best episodes we really get into. I think it's for everybody. And it's also a really good way to wrap up the series, in my opinion. I think getting onto the new series that we have that will release it kind of yeah. In this episode, we're going to go through the most common questions that Gene and I get asked all the time, and we've compiled some of those to kind of run through. So yeah, I'm gonna go through those in a minute. But Gene, how are you doing? What's been going on with you recently?
Yeah, no, I'm good. This is a good episode idea. I think it's something that we should definitely do more of as we grow on YouTube. So I think that's another thing to highlight. That's kind of what I've been doing is like looking at the YouTube subscribers, guys. I don't know how many we have right now, but I think we're in the
I
80s, right,
do.
Ryan? Go ahead, tell
Yeah.
me.
So I can't believe it. Like I checked the other day and it sounds so like minuscule because if we're doing this for another year or so or even more, like we'll look back and think, oh yeah, we thought like 70 subscribers was a lot and now we're like 70,000 or something. But I checked a week ago and I think we're on 70, maybe 71 subscribers. And as of today, let me just do a refresh. Um, I told you about that thing on like the social media, the social network with where they get the big screen on, in
Yeah.
the social network and like hit a refresh and they hit 1 billion.
All
We're
right.
not quite there yet, unfortunately, but we've got 83 subscribers, which is crazy. And this last week has really grown for us. I don't know what we've done right. Maybe it was because the last episode, low budget, make sure everything is optimized and, low budget campaigns, can they work? Maybe that really helped us kind of get a few more subscribers. I don't know, but 83. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I think it's us really trying to stay consistent as we provide value for everybody for free. I mean, me and Ryan are here to dedicate ourselves in providing the most recent and best practices through our experiences. And I think, YouTube has rewarded us for that. So we want to appreciate everyone that's subscribed to us. And, if you have any suggestions, like always, you could hit us up on theppccave@gmail.com. So yeah, happy.
That's a really good point. If any of you have any questions that you want to ask Gene or me, feel free to reach out. We'll cover those for sure. I just can't believe that 83 people care about what we have to say, right? That's just crazy to me, but it's funny. Hopefully it's
Yeah.
going to be a lot more, right?
No, for sure. And it's wild though, because I think as we continue on with just getting deeper and deeper with Google Ads, hopefully numbers continues to goes up just because it's such a small niche. So looking at it, if we were like regular comedians or just doing regular content, 83 subscribers probably wouldn't be a lot, but for us, the percentage of people out there that actually care about Google Ads, I think that's a pretty high percentage, knowing that a lot of that, what we do is pretty niche, right, Ryan?
Yeah, I think so. The amount of people that I talk to about Google Ads, just in general, like general friends, family, they don't have a Scooby-Doo idea of what I do. So they're just like, oh yeah, he does something with Google, or like he's in marketing, and they'll just kind of leave it at that. But when I actually sit down and I tell people this is what I do, they're just like, huh?
Yeah,
So, but
same.
the fact that, yeah, the fact that we've got 83 people listening to what we say is amazing to me. So yeah, thank you to everyone who subscribed. And I actually see a lot of people do watch our videos as well that aren't subscribed. So that's the other side of things. Looking at the analytics right now, I see that, we have a lot of people watching them, but like not many. I mean, we've obviously got a lot of subscribers, but a lot more of you could subscribe. So obviously, my plea to you would be, if you like what Gene and I have to say, if you're interested in hearing more episodes and more content from us, then give us, subscribe to us, and give us a watch, give us a listen. We'd really appreciate the support. So yeah, but getting back to this week's episode, most common questions asked. We're gonna go raw today. We don't have any show notes. I specifically spoke to Gene beforehand and said, let's not make any show notes today. Let's go really raw and let's just do off the cuff, kind of back and forth, conversational kind of episode. So are you ready, Gene?
Ready.
Cool. So getting into it then, the most common questions that we get asked. Number one, how long does Google Ads take before I'm going to see some results? This is probably the number one question I get asked all the time is, how long is it going to take before I see sales, before I see leads, things like that. Gene, give me your thoughts first. What do you think? How long does Google Ads take?
Yeah, so initial results usually for me, and initial results usually vary from either clicks, higher impressions, or a decent beginning CTR is probably about around 1 to 3 weeks. You could kind of see the writing on the wall pretty quickly with clicks, but when it comes to actual optimized results like a conversion, opt-in, whatever it may be, usually it's around minimum 3 to 6 months. It could be longer than that to see the optimized results, but roughly around 3 to 6 months. What about you, Ryan?
Well, I'm kind of saying more. I mean, I know what you're saying because that's what Google say. I think Google say that 90 days for a campaign to be fully dialed in, performing at peak. But let's say I'm a business owner and I want to work with you. I want you to manage my Google Ads account. I've got an e-commerce website or I've got a lead generation website, and I want Gene Villanos. He's the best in town. How long is it going to take before I see some sales, some leads coming in, some phone calls? I mean, 3 to 6 months seems quite long for me. So can I see something in the first week? Can I see something in the first month? What do you think?
Yeah, so that really does vary. I've seen maybe the second or third day, the weekend of, have results. And then I've seen sometimes it takes, at the very latest for me, is a month, for initial conversions or lead optimized signups or whatever it may be. But I mean, I've also, to be perfectly honest, I've also gone about 2 to 3 months where I haven't seen anything significant. I've maybe gotten two sales in that span, and then at that point we have a different conversation. We're like, okay, this might not work out, but yeah, that's, for me, it really does vary, but it could range from about 2 weeks, a week or so. It really depends, to close to a month. What about you?
Yeah, it's about the same, really. Typically I'd be expecting to see some sort of results, within that first month. I know that they say, I'm always telling clients, look, you need to trust the process. This is a slow and steady wins the race. This isn't, get rich quick overnight type of scheme. This can work for you, but you just need to trust the process. So I tell clients that, I kind of set that expectation from the get-go, that if you invest in me as a Google Ads account manager and trust the process, that over time we can get you to where you want to be. It's not going to be easy, but we'll get there eventually. If you have the budget, if you have the time and the patience, we can do that. So I'll typically expect to see something in the first month, whether it's, two, three sales, maybe five sales or something like that, a handful of leads, 10 leads or something, 5 to 10 leads. I'd be happy with that because then that's giving me a bit of an indication that it's working. Number one, it's working. Are we spending the budget? Yes. What's the traffic quality like in terms of, what searches are we getting in? Is it relevant? Things like that. Are we advertising to the right people? For me, month one is all about quality of traffic, making sure that the right people are seeing the ads and clicking on the ads that are in the best position to convert. So, yeah, I would say for me, probably about a month. But I always say, Google themselves say 90 days, 3 months for a campaign to be fully dialed in, performing at peak. So there's no getting around that. It does take time. How much should I spend is the next question that I get asked a lot. I don't know if you get that one from clients, from business owners, is okay, what should my budget be with Google Ads?
Yeah, that's usually on the kickoff call. Well, I'll do a Zoom call where it's free and I'll go over a little bit of what is going on currently in the account and maybe other external factors like your backend, your website backend data. And they'll ask me how much should I spend? And for me, I like to work in percentages because there's such a huge difference in some different type of industries where something that's a little bit less, more, not really a premium product, could maybe get away with a smaller budget. But roughly, if I was to put a number on it, if we're going to talk in specifics, I would say close to, 500 and below is low in my opinion. 750 is like medium, that we could work with that, but there's still going to be constraints there. But primarily anything 1,000 and above, we could see the light at the end of the tunnel there, where we have some type of ammo in regards to budget. What about you?
Pretty much the same. I do say to people, £500 or $500 is quite low, but ultimately, I always say spend what you feel comfortable with. I forget where I heard this from, but if you were able to if you were able to spend a budget, just a general budget, and not see any sales come in, not see any leads come in, no calls or anything like that, and you've just spent the budget with no return, can you still afford to buy food, pay your mortgage, pay your rent, all that kind of stuff? Can you cover the bills? And then what would that figure be where you're happy to spend it on Google Ads, but not miss it, if that makes sense? So, you can say, right, well, I'm happy to spend $1,000 on advertising. And if we don't see anything, we can still cover the mortgage, we can still get food and things like that. We're still okay. So that's always number one for me, is spend what you feel comfortable with. Unfortunately, I do say if it's $10 or £10 a day, that's what it is. We can start with that. We can get some data, albeit very, very slow, and it will take twice as long to get that data as it would be if you had a bigger budget. But if that's what you can afford and you have the right products or the business, then we can start there. But typically, I will advise around £500 at least, if not, more like 750, like you said, or 600 is also good. And then anything above, 750 to £1,000, is generally pretty good, regardless of the niche that you're in. I think if you can afford to do maybe somewhere in the region between 30 to $50 or pounds per day, regardless of the niche, I think you can see some good results. And I'll kind of preface that with, I've got a client in the HVAC niche. They're on $50 a day, and the first month we've had a really good month. So I was surprised actually how many conversions and calls we got based on that. But yeah, so that's what I would say on that one. Any thoughts on that, Gene? Or
Yeah,
do you
and
agree?
no, I do agree, but just in addition, I really like to provide customers a 3-month plan when we talk about budget. So instead of just going a month to month, if it's 1,000, I ask, what is your budget from a 3-month perspective, so that we're dedicated and we want to see 3 months before we, give up or anything like that. So, but yeah, that's for sure the same percentages and the same parameters that you have. I usually work within that, but I think it's important to say, hey, what is the full budget that you are willing to work with?
Yeah. And do you do anything like, let's start off small. Like you'll say to a client, okay, month one, it can be $20 a day. Month two, it can be $30 a day. Month three, we'll bump it up to $50 per day. Do you do anything like that to make it a little bit more easily accessible for the client? Or do you just say, nope, it's going to be $1,000 a month from day one?
Yeah, I'm very flexible when it comes to that. I think in the first month, I would probably use at most maybe 75% of the budget, 60% of the budget. I don't really like to use all of it just because, like you said, it's about getting qualified traffic in. And at times, the first month is just very broad and you can't really get that much insight from it. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that's a good way to look at it. I think what we have to focus on is just the longevity of the consistent Google Ads advertisement. I think that's kind of what really makes the budget, work, is not so much the monthly, but if we could string 3 months together, maybe we spend a little bit lower the first month. So yeah.
That makes sense. So rather than you're saying like, okay, let's spend $1,000 in the first month, but then we're going to have to pause in month two because we've spent all that money, and then in month three we can pick it back up again. You're saying, okay, well actually, let's do $500 month one, keep it running through to month three, four, five, six, or whatever, and then we can look at increasing the budgets because then you've got that consistency rather than say, right, $1,000 month one, we're going to stop that tap running in month two, right? So that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one last thing with that, if you're a freelancer or someone that handles just Google Ads accounts, it's really important for us to, say these things up front. But most of the time, if they see even in month two that the return on ad spend is, or a certain percentage or trending, then you have that trust already in the client that they're like, okay, well, I know we initially said 1,000 a month, but I'm seeing the results second month is up it to 2,000 or 1,500, and then you could start to create some momentum there. But yeah, that's exactly how I do it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. I really like that idea because then you've got proof in the pudding, so to speak. You could say, well, we ran at the first month at $1,000 per month, but look at what I've got you. Look at the leads. Look at the sales that I've given you. Now, if you want to get more of that, I think we should put more fuel on the fire. So that's a really good way of doing it. This is a spicy one for me. If I pay you, what do I get for my money? I always see that as a bit of a backhanded slap when a client asks me that, like, if I pay you this much, what am I going to get for my money? What do you think about it? You're shaking your head, so
Ooh, that's a red flag. No, no, no.
wow.
It's not a red flag. It's something. It's a orange. No, yeah, it's a yellow flag for me. Because what, like you
Yeah,
said, what do you think of whenever someone asks that? For me, I think of, it's like your output is one, your input is one. Google Ads is not like that. I could put 500 hours on an account. That doesn't guarantee a sale. Sometimes that's, establishing diminishing returns once you're doing too much. So, but yeah, I'll let you go first. I'll let you go first with this one.
you get me first. When I see that, one of two things: either they just don't really have any knowledge or expectation of the Google Ads sort of um, agency niche. So yeah, it can be a little bit tricky to kind of frame them in such a way. So that's why I'm always a little bit hesitant to, it's tricky. You put me on the spot and I'm not ready for this. I was expecting you to kind of go with it, but yeah, what do I get for my money? So normally I'll tell them, okay, well, you get me, you get this is what I'm going to be doing, and kind of walk them through everything. So search term reporting, negative keyword, bid strategy management, the whole thing. And then they're a little bit more inclined to go forward. But then the other side of it is, well, what do I get for my money? The way that it's said, I think, is a bit of a slap in the face. So sometimes it depends I guess the mood I'm in, whether or not, and it also depends on the business, the products, yeah, the person. Someone might just genuinely be quite naive and not know what they get for their money, and I'll explain them. Or maybe have a kickoff call, like you say, an onboarding call, and explain them then. And then I think when you speak to someone, like in emails or direct messaging or whatever, it's one thing. But when you get them on the phone call, they see actually there's a person at the end of the phone who I can converse with, I can go back and forth with. So I think it opens it up a little bit more. So it could just be that. But what do you think? What
Yeah.
do I get for my money?
So if someone asks me that, the reason why I don't like this question is this kind of puts the leverage on them it kind of gives them a little bit of a higher, like it's like they're saying, okay, like job interview right now, what's your resume? That's kind of what I see. And it's like
Yeah,
I don't like being told or challenged or any situation where I feel like I have to sell you. And just like Ryan, go through a lot of leads on the weekly and monthly basis. And for someone to kind of provide this a little bit of a yellow or orange flag where it's like, okay, can you perform is that basically what this person's asking. Or
yeah,
like Ryan says, if we schedule a Zoom in a call, which exactly that's what I would do first, and I would audit their account for free, and I would tell them, hey, your account looks like this. What I could do for you is at least get your conversions set up properly. That's way better than you've had it before. But if it's an account that's doing really well, then I have to be real with myself and be like, okay, well, this optimization process is going to be a little bit more different and it's going to be a little bit more challenging. But if it's someone that has absolutely no Google Ads account or just a lot of red flags within their account that I audit and see that I could better, then I'm fairly confident to say, well, this is exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get, your conversion settings set up. You're going to have me look at and monitor your current campaigns to see if there's anything that's salvageable. But yeah, it just really depends. But I like to just provide data of what their account looks like, you know, currently, and then kind of like move backwards to see what they have to say. If you're asking me, what do I get for my money? Can you get me return on ad spend this? That's another, topic, but I'd like to just go into their account, look at the history, and usually more often than not, they won't contact you if it's good. So,
yeah.
but yeah.
But this is good because, I'm going to take a bit of a pause here and say, like, if there is a new, say you're a Google Ads account manager, or you're a marketing executive, right? And you're just starting out and you have no previous knowledge and you've got, say, 3 or 5 clients the agency is giving to you to handle each and every month. And, obviously it might be different agency to agency, sales guys, things like that. But, you know, to build that trust, to kind of win that client over, I would always say if you're a marketing executive or, whatever you are, try and arrange a call directly with the client, a kickoff call, an onboarding call, and put to bed a lot of these questions that are being asked, set expectations, manage expectations, and say, look, this is what it is. This is where I'm hoping we can be. But I'm going to work with you to achieve those results. So I think that's a really good one. When people say, what do I get for my money? What we're basically advising is get on a kickoff call, an onboarding call, do a bit of research beforehand, look inside the account if you've already got access. But typically people don't, I don't typically have access when people ask me that question. It's very early on. They'll say, okay, well, you want to sign me, but what do I get in return? What do I get for my money? That's the way I kind of hear it. So, but yeah, I think a lot of these could be put out just by having a kickoff call. How many leads or sales will I get for my budget? Is the next question. What do you think?
Yeah, when someone asks me that, I think hopefully I've already explained a little bit and I could reiterate again to them and say a lot of this isn't the guarantee. The guarantee, as what Ryan discussed earlier, is I'm experiencing seeing signals and experienced in qualifying traffic. I think that's first and foremost. And then when they try to push even further, where it's like, okay, that's not good enough of an answer. They really want to see how many leads. They ask you how many leads or sales will I get for my budget, and it just really, as much as I don't like to say it, it really just depends. It's
Yeah.
such a cliche, but I mean, it just depends on the industry, the target audiences, I mean, the competition, your budget. So there's a lot of potential there if you have all of those things dialed in and those expectations dialed in. But I don't really like to promise, sales. I don't like to do that because there's just so many times where been caught off guard where I'm thinking the website and Google Ads is doing well or can do well, but the potential isn't where I thought it would be. Then I just look like an idiot for promising, leads and sales prematurely. So I think me and Ryan have been both kind of bit by this question. It's kind of like a loaded question, where we're smarter now and we'll tell you exactly, be transparent and say, we're here to qualify traffic first. I can't guarantee a specific amount of sales or leads, but what I can guarantee is you have someone that has this experience, and the way and the tools to figure it out for you. So
Over here in the UK, we have a saying that go, I don't know if you guys have it. You might have it. You might have it actually. We can drag the horse to water, but we can't make it drink it. Have you heard of that saying? Is that a
yeah,
UK thing or is that a national? Okay, it's a national. I thought it was a UK thing, but I always use it because it's the same with Google Ads. We can bring you the perfect person who has the perfect search term or whatever, but we can't make you convert. It comes down to what Gene always talks about: your offer, your reviews, your brand reputation, your speed of service, your delivery, so many your offering, so many different factors that are outside of the Google Ads ecosystem that Gene and I don't really have a handle on. So we have to kind of be considerate of that. But I like this question, not when clients ask me, but I think when they ask, how many leads or sales can I get from my budget? To me, it already assumes that they have a number in mind and they just want confirmation of that. So there's that, which always is a little bit of a red flag. But also, I really like what you've said to me, and you've probably said it in historical episodes as well, which is based on what? Like, okay, so how many leads or sales will you get? But okay, well, what makes you think we can get you that number of sales, but you're not already getting it, or it's different for the industry. So like, okay, well, I want 2 to 3 sales every day. And it's like, well, you're not currently doing that. And, if someone says I want 2 to 3 sales a day, I'm a little bit hesitant, and I was in that situation recently where I took on a client who wanted 2 to 3 sales per day. And Gene says we're a lot smarter than we were, but I'm still not, I'm still making mistakes, I guess, taking these clients on, which sounds bad, really. But I think when they're very set in stone, when they have very strong opinions of we want 2 to 3 sales per day, it's going to be very, very difficult to convince them otherwise. Whether that's, you can't can't get those, the industry, you're in, it's just not realistic, bad brand reputation, bad offer, you too high on price, so many different factors. So I always say, how long's a piece of string? You never really know when, how many leads or sales can I get? Well, you just have to put some skin in the game, invest into Google Ads, allow the time needed. It could be that month one, you only get 10 sales, but you know what? In month three, you could get 50 sales. The longer you give it, the more conversion data you feed back into Google, the better output you're going to get. So, yeah. Anything on that part before I
yeah,
go into the next one?
yeah. And just to wrap this one up, if a client was to ask you, how many sales or leads, I think a good rebuttal, question would be like Ryan mentioned, is what are you expecting? How many leads or sales are you expecting? And a lot of the times we don't want to ask that because we're setting ourselves up for a tall order, because a lot of the times clients think that this is magic and it's like some hocus pocus where we just bring conversions and leads in, and they just keep throwing money and everything is linear, and it's not linear. A lot of the times you have to, take a couple steps forward, and then sometimes you get hit and you have to take a step back. So it's really important to ask them and say, how many are you expecting in sales or leads? And then set the expectation right there. And then that's a chance for you to be clear and concise in your communication, where there's no mismatch of expectations, because the mismatch of expectations is the very beginning of a bad client and manager relationship. So,
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. I think you missed me applauding you there, but yeah, it's 100% agree. If you're having sort of like not disagreements, but if you're not on the same page from day one, you're never really going to be. And it's almost to the point that I sign a client and just in the way that they'll send an email or something, they'll say one thing and my stomach goes, like my gut feeling, and I'll know, okay, it's not going to work out, and it's only a matter of time. And at that point, it's just how do you manage that? How do you sort of go forward with that, knowing that it's only a matter of time before they go. But yeah, interesting, very interesting. So these next two pretty much more your questions. I mean, I don't get them as much. I think I've had one of them um asked a few times, but this one, probably you see this more than me. So what return will I see? Um, and I'm gonna kind of throw the second one in as well, and then maybe you can kind of answer these two together. So what kind of return will I see? And I want a 20-to-1 return on ad spend. Can you get me there? So it's that kind of mentality is, what return am I gonna see? And I want 20-to-1. Can you do it?
yeah,
Can you get me there?
I give you 50 to 1. Just kidding. But yeah, I think I think these are fair questions. These are fair questions because me and Ryan are both in the, other than PPC, other than digital marketing, as we go up in the umbrella of what we are actually doing, we're in the industry of performance marketing. So with performance marketing, you obviously have to perform to be able to do what we're doing as a PPC manager. So it's a valid question that clients or prospect clients ask: what return will I see as the business owner, as the person paying you for the management fee? And can you do maybe a specific return on ad spend? So for any specific return on ad spend, I'll kind of go backwards here. At 20 to 1, if they have a specific return on ad spend goal, more than likely, likely, they were probably told by a specific freelancer in the past or an agency that they can get them this. And going back, it's kind of going back to the other question of how many leads or sales can we get for our budget. And if they were told a specific return on ad spend, I can tell you right now that maybe agency or freelancer, whatever it may be, hasn't seen enough clients to stop answering with that. Hey, you can get this specific return on ad spend. So what I would say to them is, can I get you there? It depends. I have to see within the first 3 to 6 months of where the trajectory is. And if I see a specific type of percentage increase in return on ad spend or conversion value, then we could maybe get there. But 20 to 1, I don't want to say is impossible, but it's more so not what the goal should be. Return on ad spend on day one is not what we want to focus on, and it's not what I want the client to focus on, because if that's the case, you're already looking at ROAS from the first month. Then, like I said before, it's probably going to be a start of a very dicey client to PPC manager relationship. So I don't like to skirt this question. What I like to propose, like Ryan mentioned before, is what are we doing historically in your account? That we know. We could look into your Shopify or your WooCommerce and see this is your conversion rate month over month. This is what you've gotten in sales without any Google Ads. Adding something on like Google Ads does not necessarily mean it's a linear process. As we mentioned, sometimes you won't see that traction that you're looking for. So it's really important to first tell them the return on ad spend or return is not guaranteed. What we are guaranteed is what you're doing currently right now or in the years past. And then we could start to gauge a little bit of an incremental step above that. And if the step above that is 3 ROAS from a 1, then we could get there. But to say 20 to 1 immediately, it's going to take years, if ever, to achieve that.
Maybe this is where I'm going wrong. Maybe I'm the guy telling people, yeah, you can get 20 to 1. You can get 50 to 1. Speak to Gene, give him the headache. No, but I have a client recently, and I did an audit for him, and I think he was getting like a 2 to 1. And I said, you know what? But this is maybe where it's different, because I already looked at the account, I looked at the data, and me saying to him, I think based on these statistics, the products, the pricing, you can get a 3, a 4, maybe a 5 to 1 over time. So I think that really helped him decide, okay, well, I want to go with Ryan, but I don't want him to kind of feel like that's, what we're aiming for. I mean, that is what we're aiming for, but I don't want him to kind of, just fixate on that, so to speak, because it takes time to get there. I'm not saying you can't, but 5 to 1 could be this time next year. It's not going to be in 2 months. So, but if you kind of do your optimizations and things like that, you can get to and build up the ROAS. So for me, I wanted 20 to 1. Can you get me there? I think you remember a client I had last year in a sports type of niche. I'm going to say darts. I had that client. Do you remember?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And they were like, oh, we want to get like, I think they wanted to get like 12 to 1 or 15 to 1. And I think I promised them that. I think that was me being foolish. I was like, yeah, okay, I think we can get there. And I was pulling everything out of the bag. And I think the best I got them was like a 10 to 1. And they were just not happy with that in the end. It surprises me. I don't know if it surprises you as well. People that have these products that they're getting like a 10 to 1 or a 12 to 1, 15 to 1, but they still can't make a profit. I had someone not too long ago hitting about a 15, 16 to 1, and he had to maintain that. Otherwise, he wasn't making a profit. And that's because like his margins were so low, what he made, cost of goods was so high, shipping fees. So it's just crazy. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think that leads me into another point. You set me up perfectly. It's if you're obsessed with the return and the return on ad spend, then you might be missing out on a whole chunk of sales, right? Like if you're 20 to 1 and if you don't know the true value of what your break even is, that's a different story. But if you understand your break even and say with all factors factored in, your break even is 2 to 1 ROAS. And for some reason you want a 10 to 1. Well, I can get you a 2 to 1 or perhaps even a 3 to 1, and your conversion value skyrocket with the conversion volume way higher and the ads and the spend smoother, it's churning in and out, than a constricted 20 to 1, 15 to 1, 10 to 1 return on ad spend. Yet your conversion value and your overall purchases, or what you deem as a conversion, is low. So it's really understanding the two-edged sword of, yes, you want the most return on ad spend, one that comes with time. If you want a higher ROAS, you're not going to get it in 3 months. If you want an all-time high ROAS, getting in 3 months is nearly impossible because you need time to optimize and you don't have a lot of data at that point in time. But if you say, Gene, okay, well, my break even is 2 to 1, let's get me 3 to 1 and I'm good. I'll be like, yeah, let's do that. Let's stay at 3 to 1, make sure everything is dialed and the return on ad spend is consistent and your conversion value and volume is high. You could break even or even do better that way, as opposed to trying to choke out that small specific traffic with such a high return on ad spend goal.
But it also depends as well. I'll just throw this into the mix. Depends what products you have and the pricing of the products. Because if you've got a $10, £10 product, you're not really going to make much off of that. You might spend £100 to generate one sale for £10, or you might spend $50 to generate a $5 sale. You're not going to be seeing much of a return. It's an uphill battle. Whereas on the flip side, and correct me if I'm wrong, but let's say you spend $100 and you get a sale, but your products are priced at like $1,000, $2,000, then obviously, you've got a 10 to 1 return. I spend right there, right? If you're spending 100 and you get 1,000 in return, you've got a 10 to 1. So it's all relative to what your product pricing is as well, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely relative to your product pricing. But then if you're spending $100 to get 1,000 in conversion value, those $100 have to be dialed in because there are going to be people on that same Google.com or wherever you're advertising right next to you that perhaps has a better offering. So it's really two-edged swords here where you're looking at multiple metrics to try to figure out, in this case, conversion value or the sales over the cost, and that's what gets you return on ad spend. So it's really important to see those both. If you do have a lower product price, then yeah, it's probably going to be tougher for you to establish that high return on ad spend in the beginning. That's something that could come later. What should be established right now is the frequency or the volume of conversions that you're getting so that you could get more conversion volume so that return on ad spend can increase.
Yeah, that sounds good. Couple of red flag questions then. These are always fun. Can we set up a weekly call? So when a client or a prospect asks you, Gene, can we set up a weekly call? What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I would first ask him, I or that or her, whoever, him, them, they. I would ask, why do you need, a weekly call? And if they're very adamant, then I would kind of reflect and say, okay, well, this, like you said, is a bit of a red flag, but I would tell them this. I would be like, well, how about this? We can do a weekly Zoom or Loom or just a weekly email. And if you want anything further, we could schedule a call, right? We could schedule a call because why do we need a weekly call other than me updating you? And maybe the trust might not be there just yet. And a lot of the times from a week to week basis, I'm not like changing a lot of things. I'm more so monitoring and we're still, at the helm going the right way, even if we're not changing anything. So for us to have a weekly call could maybe be a little bit redundant, but it's really up to the client. I could kind of gauge at this point in time some clients that want a weekly call because they're clueless and they just don't understand how it works. But then there are clients that know exactly how it works, but just want to micromanage you. That's why they want a weekly call. So understanding and getting to the bottom of that, the question and the root of the question first, I think is really important.
Can I swear?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
go
get
for it.
taken down if I swear.
We have no sponsors right now. Once we get our
Not
first
yet.
sponsor, we'll stop, okay? But right now
Oh
we can
yeah.
swear.
We'll be like having the drinks and the hats and all the merch for the sponsor things.
Yeah.
Um, this is bullshit, in my opinion. This question. Can we set up a weekly call is bullshit because it's all about trust. They know what they're doing. I think it's more of a yeah, honestly, I think it's more of a micromanaging aspect and that they don't trust you. This is a huge red flag for me. If somebody says, "Can we set up a weekly call?" I'm not going to go further. I'm going to be saying, yeah, probably just ignore them and shut everything down. Honestly, because it's just why are you laughing so much?
Well, you wouldn't
Do you
even
not
like
agree?
well, I do agree. I do agree it is bullshit, but like so that would be your initial reaction. You would just end it, is what you're saying.
Pretty much. Because like I don't know why you're laughing so much. Maybe it's just me. No, if a client says to me, "Can we have a weekly call?" Why? Because I think I've done a bad job at that point. I've not set your expectations from day one. If you're wanting a weekly call, then you know it's just too much. That's
Right.
4 calls in a month. I say to people, look, I'm happy to have a call as and when as it's needed. If you've got any questions, feel free to email me. Or if you'd rather have a call, we can do 5 minutes, something like that. That's fine. And I'll provide you with a report once a month. And then if you want a phone call off the back of that, we can talk about the data. We can talk about where we're at, what the next month looks like, things like that. I'm quite open when it comes to that. But a weekly call is excessive. It's micromanaging, it's neediness, and it's a huge red flag for me to say that the person doesn't trust me. Or in some cases, if you guys are having weekly calls with clients as well, it could be because the client is just so needy and that they want everything done now type of thing, and they want to be updated all the time. And it's like, well, Google doesn't work like that. Google Ads doesn't work like that. You make a change, You allow significant time for it to bed in, to settle, to learn, to optimize. And then once you have the data that reflects that time period gone by since you made that change, you evaluate the data, you evaluate the results, and then you may make another change. So for me, once a week, I'll probably say, okay, well, I added these 5 keywords, for example. Um, After 7 days, what was the results of those 5 keywords? Are they heading in the right direction or not? Do I need to say reduce the bids, or do I need to pause those keywords? Or it could be, I've reduced bids for a product, for example, or a handful of products. Has the last 7 days have they spent less on those products? Yes, great, because they're not profitable for us. We're wasting all that budget. Once the kind of what's the word, put that the cork in the leaky boat type of thing, and send money elsewhere to more profitable products. So what has that change impacted, and how does it look after 7 days? So for me, coming back to it, a weekly call is a huge red flag. And yeah, I see it as a thing that, yeah, I didn't set your expectations. I wouldn't even let it go that far, to be honest. It would probably just be like one of those things. Can we have a weekly call? No.
So
So there you go.
I totally, I, at this point in time in our, both of our freelancer careers, I think we have the right to just say straight up, this is a red flag. Can we set up a weekly call? This is no bueno. And I totally agree with you.
But yeah,
Now,
but we're also busy, right?
yeah.
You and I, we both have so many clients. If they all wanted weekly calls, you're pulling us out of actually doing what we do best, which is manage accounts, which is influence and optimize the data. If everybody wants a weekly call, we're not going to be doing the work. We're just going to be on phone calls that I hate meetings. I'm going on a little bit of a rant now, but nothing ever really happens in meetings. Nothing ever really gets done on phone calls. I think if you've got an email, send it to me, and then I've got those points. I can always refer back to them. What you say in a phone call off the cuff, I might have forgotten about because I'm getting old. So yeah, sorry to
Yes.
interrupt.
No, no, you're good. So like what I would say to someone that, if you have uh it's a feel, like for me, if this was when I was starting off on Fiverr or wherever, uh I would probably entertain, someone that uh asks this question and not really, I would try to figure it out. But now, yes, this is something that I would not, this is a huge red flag, and it's something that I probably perhaps wouldn't entertain. But if you are starting out, maybe ask a couple questions first, and then you could be like, all right, no. But more likely than not, I would say maybe like 8 out of 10 times, once they ask this question, it probably is downhill from there. But but like another thing is, if and it depends on your prior experiences. I've had people just micromanage me, but for me, I need to see if I could create those results. I don't really get swayed immediately, like if it's positive or negative results. If they're okay with the time that I said that we were going to test, the minimum of 3 months, and they ask me, can we have a weekly call? I'd be like, all right, let's do it. But that's back then, not anymore. But for me, it's really about, can you prove yourself in that time? And if you were to take on this client, you have to understand you're gonna have to show results immediately. That's exactly what they're asking you, basically. Can we set up a weekly call, aka I want to see the results immediately? And if you feel like you could do that, you're confident, go for it. But if you're not confident, it's gonna hurt your ego, and it's gonna be a lot of micromanagement for sure.
I don't even think it's a confidence issue. I think it's more of the pressure. Like if they want the weekly call, they're just so needy, and that you're going to be pressured to be making changes and getting results. It's just going to be a stressful experience for you because you're going to be this is what it will result in. Yeah. You will over manage the account. You will start making too many changes in too much of a short term frame time period. And you're just going to be changing left, right, and center, and nothing's going to ever have time to settle and optimize. So it's just going to be stressful. You're going to be over managing the account just to try and make the client happy. But guess what? The client's never going to be happy. If they're asking for weekly calls, they want to micromanage you, it's going to be stressful. They're never going to be happy. So it's best off just cutting ties with them, moving on to the next one.
S-
Um, Oh, go on.
Yeah, so like the I think one big foundational experience that I've had that, I think I've talked to Ryan about privately before is I did have a pretty wild client back in when I first started, and I was starting out, and I didn't have many clients. I had a lot of time, and they right off the gate, maybe like 2 to 3 days in, started berating me and asking, why haven't we seen results? Why haven't we seen results? And just really like, what's going on? And so I straight up told them, because I didn't want to have cancellation on the platform that I was using at the time. I was like, just take the 14 days that at that point, it was a 14-day management, which is crazy to think. Take the 14 days and don't message me. I straight up told them, don't message me, and then we'll figure it out after if it's not, the results that you want. And they listened, and it was the all in the 14 days that I managed them. After the third day that they probably messaged me was their best stretch of 14 days ever versus a whole month. So I did more in the 14 days in return on ad spend and conversion value than they've ever done in their best month ever on Google Ads. So I think that for me, like, kind of set the precedence that, maybe I could turn these people, and maybe it's not a red flag, but like I said before, 8 out of 10 times, if they ask this question, it might be downhill, and you might, be pressured to do a little bit more than you're supposed to.
Yeah, good story. Do you still offer 14-day management?
No, that was
No.
that was a
That was a
long
Gene
time
special.
ago.
Long
Yeah.
time ago. Okay, last question. And then we can kind of, just in case I've missed anything, we can kind of cover that. But okay, how often will you be managing my account? And this, for me, comes from agency side. This says to me that this person has previously worked with agencies where typically they are allocated. So all agency clients, from my agency days at least, all the clients were allocated certain hours. So you'd spend 10 hours on this client, you'd spend 20 hours on that client, maybe five on that client. It all depends on your spend, on your retainer fee, on your contract fee, things like that. So if you're spending £500 a month with the agency, you're probably going to get 5, maybe 10 hours a month of actual account work done on your account. If you're spending 2,500, well, you're probably going to get 20, maybe 24 hours a month on your account, in total throughout that month. So that usually screams to me this person has come from an agency, where, okay, how many hours are you going to be spending on the account? For me, it doesn't work like that. All my clients get the same amount of hours each and every month. It's not even an hourly thing. It's reactionary, but also taking action. So I'll go through all my client accounts all the time. Like, I'm inside the accounts on a daily basis. I make sure that budget is being spent. I make sure that traffic quality is relatively good. But then every 5, 7 days, I'll go in, add negative keywords, things like that. I'll make a big change, like I said before, dropping keyword bids, product bids, things like that. Maybe changing bid strategy. Obviously, just being a normal Google Ads account manager, fixating on hours and things like that. It's just ridiculous. So, for me, it's not about hours. It's more about, okay, what is this client doing right now? How can I increase whatever they're doing? If they're getting 10 leads a month, how can I get them to 20? If they're getting 50 sales a month, how can I get them to 80 or something like that? So it's not about hours, it's about results. G mentioned before, performance-based marketing is what we do, really, essentially. But it takes time, and I'm not going to sit there and be so computerized and say, well, this person only gets 10 hours. Well, you know what, this person might just be starting out. We need to do a little bit more. Whereas the client I've had for a year, it's just keeping it going, looking for new opportunities. Where can we scale further? Where can we cut back on things that over the last 6 months we spent a lot on? Okay, we spent a lot on mobile phones, for example. We saw some really good conversions come through, but cost per conversion is a little bit high. Do we need to add a negative bid adjustment here? Or this product has spent X amount and only generated 20 conversions, but the return on ad spend is probably less than 2 to 1. So do we keep that or do we reduce the bid? So you can see it's different. Whereas the client that just starts up, okay, how is the ad copy performing since I started it? How are these keywords performing since we started the campaign? This, that, and the other. So it really is relative to the client, for me at least. I put in all the hours for all my clients, but it's not it's not like 5 hours for this client, 10 hours for that client. What do you think, Gene? Like, just to remind you of the question, how often will you be managing my account? How do you tackle it?
Yeah, I've only been asked this maybe once. So I
Mm,
have a direct experience with how that specific client went, just because I've don't really get this asked a lot. But there are other questions that kind of are the same, excuse me, that are kind of equivalent to how often will you be managing my account. But what I've told client in the past is, like what Ryan said, it really depends. Most of the time, in the first couple months of management, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on, this account, and it depends on where you're at in the account. But if they're to ask me a specific hour, I'm not gonna go around the question. I would just answer it. I would say around 5 to 10 hours. Usually it depends on if I'm busy. If you're a freelancer out there and you have two clients, answering this question might be favorable for you because you could be totally honest with how much you're working because you have no other clients. But I think the biggest impact of an answer is understanding where they're coming from with this question, right? Like I've mentioned in the past, maybe there's a little bit of mistrust. Maybe they've come from an agency like Ryan has said, and they probably weren't given their fair amount of time, and they've seen maybe a steady decline in performance. But I'd like to come back with, well, if that's what you're worried about, then what I can do is give you an email update of what's going on in your account from a weekly or biweekly perspective, right? We could figure out that, and in hopes that we could circle back to a monthly Zoom or a monthly Loom, where that's the goal for most of my clients, and that's where most of my clients are. A lot of the times, this doesn't necessarily mean um, they're a bad client. What it does mean is they have trust issues. Are you equipped to handle those trust issues, or do you have the capacity with your other roster of clients to handle this trust issue? Or, if you don't, then don't worry about it. But if you're starting out and you only have one client or zero clients, I could see why, you would probably have to see this through and get up there, get those reviews, get those proof of concept with other clients, maybe a case study like Ryan does, so that you won't be in this forever loop of having to answer this question, because that's not really a good question to be asked.
Would you say it's a red flag?
I don't work in black and white, man. It's really, it just depends. Like I have one client that asked me this question. They're the only client ever that's given me a bonus in December. This was their
Wow.
the
Wow.
first question. Yeah. So it really depends. And it's weird that sometimes I get that one positive historical, occurrence, and then I just hold on to that. Maybe I'm just a romantic in a way, but
Oh, so sweet.
yeah, I haven't gotten this question a lot. You are probably in a better position to answer this than I am, to be perfectly honest, because maybe you've gotten this question more than I have. I've gotten it literally once before.
Yeah, I think it's just because I've seen both sides of the coin. I've worked agency side. I've seen how agencies treat their clients. Uh, Probably a story for another day. Um, but yeah, I've seen it that side as well as the side of being a freelancer. And for me, it's just how often will I be managing your account? Well, like you said, it starts off quite a lot, and then it's not as and when, but it's reading the data and making data-driven optimizations when needed. I'm not going to be over managing the account. I'm not going to be in the account on a daily basis making changes left, right, and center, because that's not how Google Ads works. It's an algorithm at the end of the day. It's an auction process. And what we feed into it, we need to allow, what's the word? Um, Adequate time to review the data once we have it back. So that's why, yeah, it's a tricky question, but I don't know if it's a red flag. I think again, it's just people don't really have expectations or the knowledge of this, so it's just reframing them a little bit from what the agency side do. Um, so yeah, but
I've
any
also
other
like,
question? Oh, go on. Sorry to
sorry, yeah,
interrupt.
no, you're good. I've also, when I've answered this or gotten this question before, I've also told them what Ryan said, verbatim. I'm in the accounts every day or every other day, and I consider that management. If you think I'm doing crazy big changes, to me, that's not management. That's over management, and that could be a detriment to your account. A lot of the times, I like to tell clients also, it is more detrimental sometimes for me to create a quick change that I could change in 5 minutes than it is to for me to look at your account for weeks and not do anything, because that's what we're paid to do. We're not paid to move and change and do a bunch of things. Our main soul, our like goal is to see what's going on in the account and monitor and analyze. So if you were to ask me how often I'll be managing the account, I'm managing the account every day. I'm going in there and looking at the stats. Am I doing anything? Well, then we have a different perspective of what management is. Because I think just even monitoring is management.
That's
So
fair
yeah.
enough. I would also, just to finalize on this one, question the client. Like, if you're worrying how many hours I'm putting in your account, I don't think like your priorities are right. I think your concern should be your business, how many leads you're getting. Well, not how many leads you're getting, but more like how many jobs are we securing? Do we have enough guys? Should we get some more people in, staffing? Maybe we should look to add some new services. Or from an e-commerce perspective, what new products can we add? What new promotions can we create? To try. Maybe we check our email flow, and automation, things like that. What we do frees up the business owner to say, right, I don't understand Google Ads. I need to get someone in who can do it, and they hand it off to us. So then it's that big plate of Google Ads problem handed over to us, the experts who know what they're doing, right? So that they can focus on what they do best, which is their job, whether it's going out and putting tree down, like tree surgery, or if it's like selling products, sourcing new products and things like that, making their business grow from their sides, different pricing structures, things like that. So I would say don't worry about it so much if you're a business owner saying how often are you going to be managing my account? How long will you spend inside the account? Don't worry about it. You've reached out to me to hand this problem off to. Let me do what I do best and trust me in the process, so that it frees you up to focus on what you do best, which is getting your business to the next level outside of Google Ads. So there is that. Had another point. I can't remember what I was going to say on that one, so I'm going to leave it there. But is there any more questions that you think we've missed? Because I feel like I don't want this episode to end. I think we're on a roll right now. I think we've provided such good value across all these different points. I don't know if you've got any questions that we've not thought of before we wrap up.
No, I think this was a good start, these questions, and I think we could always embed more questions according to the type of series we're in. So I would definitely, expect to see more of these in the future, because more questions will definitely come to mind then.
That's cool. I actually just remembered what I was going to say as well, because it's not really in relation to that last question. It's more of a just a bit of an aha kind of moment for people, because typically, business owners want to hand over the Google Ads problem, right? There's three ways they can do it. They can hire someone in house, but they have to pay them a salary, and that could be anywhere 25, 30,000, $50,000, pounds per year. Okay. They could hire an agency, but what's the agency going to charge? You know, are they going to charge 1,000, maybe 2,000 per month? So that could be anywhere in the region of, 10, 12 to 20,000. But actually looking at, freelancers, it could be the best option. You don't have to have someone sat in the office there that you're paying a wage for, like medical health insurance that you guys have over there or anything like over here, you know, like pension funds and things like that. With the agency, well, it's they can range. in terms of what they provide and what they offer, as well as what they charge. Whereas freelancers, you've got one person that you don't have to have in the office that is constantly in the background making your business as profitable as possible for a relatively affordable fee. You know, like most freelancers could be around the £500, $500 mark, maybe 750, maybe 1,000. So they could match the agency, but you're working with a dedicated specialist who knows what they're doing, who's got a track record of delivering results. So it could be more beneficial and what's the word? Like profitable, not profitable, but you know what I'm trying to say, to work with a freelancer rather than have a staff member in-house or work with an agency. What do you think about that actually?
Yeah, I mean, usually an agency, it's not going to be one specialty. A lot of the times, this is under the umbrella of a digital marketing agency where they could have really great salespeople that would sell you on, and then you're passed off to a junior associate or someone that just isn't specialized in Google Ads. Just Google Ads, they could have different offerings. So at times that's going to be more expensive, and that's going to be more expensive. And, with a freelancer, it's to the total opposite where you're finding someone that's specialized. And in our cases, well, at least for me, I know Ryan does it the same thing, but I go off a month to month. So I am absolutely, ready to continue on if you see fit only. So that's a huge
Yeah.
plus that you find me as a specialist that was dedicated just to do Google Ads for you on a month-to-month basis. And therefore, if the performance or what you feel, isn't where it's at or needs to be, then, we cut ties, no hard feelings. So I think those are, that is a good, statement and bullet point that you brought up, because this could
Thank
be
you.
a better, option for a lot of potential clients out there.
No, that's cool. That's why I brought it up, I guess. But no, I agree. I'm the same. You know, I don't do any 12, 24-month contracts or anything like that. I'm a 30-day rolling type of guy. And yeah, it works good for me and for my business model and what I want to do. So, and I think touch wood, the clients like it too, because you're not selling them into a year with you. They could say, well, you know what? In next month, I don't want to work with you anymore. It's been great, but or results haven't been what we expected. So there is that flexibility there. So yeah, it works for me, and it sounds like it works for you as well. Um, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think we're ready to wrap up. I just want to explain why I look really red and sweaty, and you look really cool. It's just so hot here in the UK at the moment. I don't know for any of our listeners or watchers. Like I'm looking at myself and I'm thinking I look really sweaty, but it's just because we're having like 27, 28-degree weather at the moment, sun, which we finally got summer arrived here in the UK. For you, it's probably like that's cold weather, right? I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but yeah, it's a difference there,
Yeah,
I guess.
no, I think that's still pretty warm. I actually had, well, Pam's cousins came in from Canada and they used the same system and they were saying, yeah, 28 Celsius, that's so hot. But yeah,
Yeah.
it is hot. I think it's, close to the same upper 90s or mid 90s Fahrenheit for us. And yeah, it's pretty warm, but I have that AC. I think that's the big difference.
We don't have, see, I bought one on Amazon and it's okay, but you've got the whole like proper AC thing and over there, and your houses are built for heat, whereas in the UK our houses are built with brick to keep the heat in because typically cold winters and things like that. So yeah, when it's hot here in the UK, it's just humid, it's not nice, whereas you're just chilling with a pina colada, aircon on, happy days. So yeah,
Yeah,
not
no,
fair.
that's definitely you could see, since we do have Spotify video now, you could see Ryan on Spotify and
It's
you
true.
could, you could vet and say, hey, you have more color at least right now. It looks good. You're a little bit more red. But yeah, no, this is a great episode. And if you have anything else, Ryan, let me know. But I think to just kind of wrap up, we've kind of gone through the whole series of Google Ads for Beginners, and this was a good capstone to just kind of end it in a way where, you know, these are questions that maybe beginner freelancers or even clients that are looking into Google Ads for their own businesses might be asking. So, you know, we are always here for value. And if you want to take it a step further and speak to us through a Zoom or whatever it may be about your account or your business, I'm here at genevillanos.com. Ryan, where can they find you?
RyanFentonPPC.co.uk.
Perfect. But yeah, and we'll continue on with more value with a new series, right, Ryan? The next time they see us when this release, the episode following will be a new series.
Yeah, absolutely. When I don't really want to give the theme of the new series away. I've got an idea. It's obviously getting the green light from Gene, the executive producer, I guess you could say. But I think I think it'll be really good. So I think we're going to take a break. We'll probably take a week off or something, just kind of decompress a little bit, you know, and get ready for the new series. Because I feel like this last series, Google Ads for Beginners, has been really long. I feel like it's spanned a couple of months, so it's nice to kind of end it where it's at and start with a new series in a few weeks.
Yeah, we'll definitely end this one and still provide the same value on a weekly basis. That's Monday, 12 a.m. Mountain Time. We're on Spotify video and regular Spotify, of course, and also on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Let's try to get up to that 100 subscribers in the next couple of months, guys. That's really going to boost our confidence in providing this weekly value, as we do this for free, and we have lives, we have families, you know, newly fiancéed co-host here, and me with my wife. So that's very important for us to, you know, spend time on our businesses and our families, but we take time out to provide this weekly value for y'all, and we love it. And once we get to 100 subscribers, it's going to be really like a milestone for us. So tune in. We'll continue on, and if there's nothing else, we'll talk to y'all next time. Bye for now.